Yeah, for some reason it messed up my the resolution I was running my program at, so I don't know if that's going to affect when I do things like measuring on the screen. It might, but it doesn't really matter for right now, as long as it's sharing the screen. Can't really get a nice view here without changing the ratio. There we go. Okay. Alright, so I've got my headphones set up. I think I'm good to go if you want to call in, Travis, or I'll call you. Either or. How's my audio, anybody? Hey.
How's it going?
Not bad, how are you?
Well, I'm good, thanks. Let's see if I can, it sounds like I'm doing all right on the stream on my side, so you came through on my channel, and I'm hearing you good. If you haven't gotten any feedback from anybody, the audio was good when I was listening.
Cool. Yeah, it seems like everybody agrees.
All right.
So yeah, I was listening to your stream. I guess that was a couple of days ago, with the turning torso building.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't been able to shake that. I had meant to, I think yesterday, I had meant to watch another channel's boat going over the horizon, and I just got caught back up into looking at the footage, and I keep seeing stuff that's new and more interesting. So I did it again today.
Oh yeah, nice. I think I've actually got that model in here. Yeah, I do.
What program is this?
This is running in Unreal Engine, but it's my own program. But unfortunately, this is a new a new environment that I'm working on, kind of roughly based on the boat launch area. But the only thing I noticed with it is that this background, because it's an actual 3D object and it's closer than 20 kilometers, so I'm gonna have to switch that. I can switch back to my old tropical environment, I guess, if I need to. There we go. Yeah, actually, I remember looking at quite a few of his observations at least a year or so ago. And they're pretty good, but I don't think I came to any conclusions about anything.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I'm going to switch back to the other environment here. Alright, I'm going to try and keep an eye on the chat too. So, what do you want to talk about tonight?
I don't know, man. This is your channel. I'm not going to hijack you.
I didn't have anything really planned. I've done few evening observations recently, but I've been getting kind of the same thing, just a really high looming horizon above eye level when I get my camera down low. So when there's nothing really obstructed, it's hard to really, I don't know, make any claims about the shape of the Earth.
I wonder, though, if we could, and if there's nothing obstructed, then talk about how the XYZ axes are almost like on a gimbal. You know, they just move. They move in every direction. So I think one of the interesting things would be to try to map out how the distance can be shortened or lengthened, so that it looks like you're seeing farther or maybe not as far. Kind of like some of the stuff that I've got where it looks like I'm closer to the water and lower down, although my elevation for my camera hasn't changed. So all of those things, there's no obstruction, but it's a three-dimensional effect. And you know what? Actually, what happened in the in today's video? I mean, if you want to, we can pull it up in a little bit. But in today's video with Matthias's footage, I put some of my still images that I took of water, so that I could use the water almost like I could create a false horizon. So I put them in 3 or 4 different places, and and then I pushed play, and the entire field of view was affected. So to me, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I still haven't really looked hard for evidence of that in my own observations, where we have all 3 axes shrunken or enlarged, but I've definitely noticed things shifting left and right in a bunch of my observations. I'm just going to answer somebody in the chat here. Danny D. Yeah, so this is a 3D basically model of either the flat plane or a globe model, and it just has a bunch of features that are helpful for analyzing observations as far as what should or should not be obstructed on either model. And then I have a Refraction Simulator that basically simplifies and simulates the atmosphere to create different visual effects, try to mimic what we see, but it's all based on certain things that may not be 100% accurate. So it's just really a rough idea and a tool to help get an idea of what we should see. So right now this is a perspective 3D view. I can switch the camera to an orthographic view. And do different things with that. Let's see what else in the chat here.
So I've got my chat going too. So Nathan Thompson's in my chat, and I made a comment to him, so I'm going to clarify on it. So Nathan, what I've said in my channel when we're looking out at the horizon, if we could put a person in a boat and sail them out to where we could best estimate the horizon to be, that would be the geometric horizon. So technically, we always have a geometric horizon. It's just not according to the globe standards. In a world without an atmosphere, take the atmosphere away, and the geometric horizon is, you know, closer to you. You just can't see it. So yeah, I'm not using geometric horizon in the colloquial sense, and, so I'm shaking it up a little bit.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, basically I can take a target and put it at whatever distance we want to see it at. So 30 kilometers. And then I can just switch back and forth between the globe and the flat model. So obviously what we're looking at right now is with light traveling in perfectly straight paths, which it generally does not ever do because we have an atmosphere. So this view is only a geometric reference. Like, what kind of distances were some of the, what was the farthest distance, do you happen to remember, from
the footage that I was looking at with Matthias?
Yeah.
He had it down at 25 kilometers for the turning torso, where he set up at this depot. It looked like a travel spot where some passenger yachts would come in.
Oh yeah.
So he had it at 25 kilometers.
So that was the farthest he was able to observe it from? I thought he had some really far ones.
Well, I think that if he's the same channel, I know that there was one channel I saw where the guy was on his bike and he went around a circuit and he kept showing his GPS coordinates, but I don't know if that was Matthias or not. I'm just talking about the video that I watched this week. So.
Oh yeah. Alright, I'm just checking the chat again here. Okay, so I told Bobby Shafto I would find some videos. He wanted a higher reference shot from the campground observations. And I'm actually going to look on my channel quickly first because I know I have a few there. So feel free to fill the gap for a minute here. I'll just be busy for a second.
All right, well, this will be some drama because you've got a troll in your chat named Sean Hawkins, and he's coming after me. So Sean, or Hunter Thompson, I'm not going to take the video down simply because you have claimed that there is a discrepancy in the information doesn't mean that there is. I told you, if you've got evidence, just present your evidence. The only thing that I can think of off the top of my head, because I wasn't really watching it for the orthographic information, and if you do watch it for the orthographic information and you're choking on that gnat of information, you're missing the point, because he shows you the horizon that is past the third platform. and that's the point that he's making. Simply because he tries to model it from an orthographic perspective, and he manipulates the sizes of the stock images, that's not dishonest. That's an attempt at modeling. So, again, I'm not going to take it down. If you want to, I don't even know. I'm not going to pay attention to you because you're a troll.
Alright, so I just posted a link to one of my time-lapse videos that I know was from at least 4 or 5 meters. This was at the top of the boat launch. I'll just see if I can share that here. I'll have to bring it up here. Let's see.
Yeah, and I guess that's the thing that I would say too. That you and I have talked about it when you have a wider angle view of your shoreline and you can see the ridges behind it. We don't really see a lot of refraction on that, so that you see the effects going up that high.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this was one of the time lapses from higher up. I estimated this sign to be about 2 meters high. Maybe a little bit less or a little bit more. I can't remember right now, but anyway, I worked out my height here to be about 6 meters, and this is a pretty wide field of view, so pretty good reference. And this was right after an inferior mirage kind of transition out of the fog. You can see a inferior mirage here, actually hiding more than should be hidden on a geometric globe if you consider the fold line to be the actual horizon. But we know it's strictly optical, or at least that's how it appears. But otherwise, the horizon should actually be a little bit past this campground if I'm actually at 6 meters here. So it's not like I'm only seeing stuff way too high. There is times when I actually see more obstruction than on a globe. So that's one, and then
yeah, Chris Berry just said that wherever you live, it's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's beautiful for 6 months of the year, maybe 5. And I mean, it's nice in winter too, but limited access to the outdoors with the amount of snow we get here.
Now, you don't have to, say anything more than you want to. Do you have a family?
Yep.
And do you hunt or fish or anything?
I used to fish a little bit, not so much anymore, but I mean, there's so many things to do out in nature around here.
Sure. Yeah.
I feel bad, but I mean, I work 8 to 10 hours every day outside in the sun, and usually at the end of the day I don't feel like doing too much more outside, but it's nice to go down to the lake and just relax. put my camera down in the water and
Yeah.
let it record.
Yeah. So, again, if you want to go in this direction, because we did have the troll ask the question, but then Cinnamon Control, is it Cinnamon Control? Yeah. Made the comment of maybe discussing the balance of combining an orthographic model of what we see in perspective. How whatever that, looks like. But again, if you want to take this in the direction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll get back to you, Bobby, with some more footage. I should actually post some of my earlier footage from up higher. I tend to post most of the lower elevation stuff because it's more interesting, but for reference, the higher stuff is definitely better. Alright, I'm just going to switch back to my curve calc here. And I call it the light curve calculator, not the earth curve calculator, because light bending upwards with a specific radius is optically identical to light traveling straight on a sphere with the same radius. Interestingly enough, right. So maybe Cinnamon Control, if you just want to elaborate on that a little bit more. I mean, maybe he's referring to a while back when Nathan Oakley was talking a lot about perspective denying curve calculators and how orthographic view doesn't represent what we see in perspective.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I mean, again, if I cared about Sean, really, the guy doesn't really present himself as someone that is open to having an honest discussion. He just comes in and just spits out his opposition. And so I think that if I could put words into his mouth, it's that from orthographic, again, you don't have perspective. You don't have depth perception. So you're not going to have an angular size difference. Although you would if you were able to get far enough away and have all of the three platforms, which I think were, I believe it was Hillsong, or I think it was Habitat, Grace, and Gale. So each of those are on the x-axis different distances, but on the y-axis they are going to be either closer to you or farther away. So that's where the distance is going to come in. And he's complaining that BMLS B69 combined an orthographic view to represent what he was seeing in perspective. But again, he wasn't trying to be constructive in his criticism. He was just totally lambasting the attempt altogether. So there was no real information to interact with. So he's in the chat. You can back up every claim. Yeah, well, we're asking a question, Sean, about your criticism of BMLSB. So if you want to try and elaborate on why it's wrong for him to put something in orthographic view, then go ahead. You know, we're here to have a peaceful conversation. But if you can't handle it, then, you know, go somewhere else. I'm not trying to be clever, bro. See, that's the language of a troll. You're just being completely argumentative. Anyway.
Yeah, I'll just, so Cinnamon Control says, you do have an angular size difference in orthographic view. It's just extracted from the view. So basically what he means is, if I'm looking at these cubes, actually I'll make them offset a little bit. Alright, so I have 5 cubes, 10 meters high, each one. And for some reason my camera scrolling button isn't working right here. Okay, well that's not gonna work.
I just have to laugh. Listen to this comment. The plain truth. You are not understanding that this proves that you are corrupt to the core. It's like, who makes comments like that, man? It is absolutely just nutso. I'm probably gonna shut that for at least my screen. I'm not gonna have that chat open. It's just gonna distract me.
Yeah. How many people are watching your stream?
I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's at least in the chat. Let me check my window. Oh, I got 13.
Wait a minute, I'm not sharing the right screen, am I? Or it was, but something happened. Yeah, that's better. Okay, but basically, in orthographic view, I really wish I could just get one of these to work here. Let's go 1. Okay, well this is orthographic view looking from the side. And if I switch back here...
What's the object that you're putting on, though?
It's a 10-meter cube.
Oh, okay.
But it's not actually a cube, it's flat. So it doesn't have any depth. I thought I had one object here that was... And basically, every object is basically like a cardboard cutout photo, and then it's just scaled to the right dimension, so it'll look 3D when it's far enough away, but from a side view. So just pretend this is an actual cube. It doesn't really matter because we're just looking at the front of it, so we only need these 2 points. But the camera is way down here on the right. So I think I have a button. There we go. So these red lines are coming from the eye, to the target, top and bottom. So here's my eye down here, and top and bottom of the target, and that is forming an angle at the eye, and that angle represents the angular size or the angular height of the object. So if this 10-meter cube was farther away, then this angle...
What's the distance you have it at right now?
It's at 1 kilometer. So I'll just add another one here at 2 kilometers. And I'll zoom way out here. And if I draw the lines to that, you can see it's a much smaller angle. I can't really zoom in on the start of it just because I can't scroll my camera.
It dropped down below. Did it drop down below?
It's still above.
Okay.
But if I were to zoom in right where it enters the eye, you would see that that angle is smaller than looking at the closer 10-meter cube. Does that make sense, like, to you?
I'm trying to follow.
If you look at it here, this kind of sums it up nicely. So we're these lines that are hitting the top and bottom of the farther cube, you can see where they're intersecting the closer cube, and you can see that this angle is actually half the size of the farther cube, and that's why things, as they double in distance, they reduce in size by half.
So I'm lost when you say the other cube. So the vertical line that we're looking at right now, you are calling a cube with no depth, so it just has height and width.
Yeah.
Okay. But you said that there's a second cube, and I don't see another vertical line. What do you mean?
So the second cube is, I'm zooming the camera out right now, and the second cube is over here. And that's what I've got the lines drawn to. So my eye is here. Hopefully you can see my mouse.
Yeah, but I still see in center screen just one vertical line. So I don't know if I'm misunderstanding. Oh, there it is over there on the far left. You had to zoom out really far.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Maybe I'll do this on a little smaller scale here. So let's go 200 and 400. Okay, I got my camera scrolling figured out here. Yeah, this is kind of an important thing to go over, I guess, because there's a lot of confusion still about what angular size actually is. Okay, so there's nothing on the screen. I'm going to put one cube at 500 meters. Okay, so here's that cube. Now I draw my lines in.
Okay, let me ask you a question real quick. Why don't you have depth?
It's just not needed for when we're just looking at the fronts of things.
Okay, got it.
It's actually it's kind of a common technique in in video game design too. Like sometimes things that are far in the background won't be rendered in 3D. They'll just be 2D because you can't tell the difference from a far enough distance. Okay, so we've got our observer height here. The camera height doesn't actually matter because the angle will still be the same. If I put my camera up here and draw the lines there, it's still going to be the same angle. So right now my camera's at 8.95 meters, and you can see that this angle, so the angle I'm referring to is the angle created by these two red lines, right? So there's our 10 meter cube, and let's add another one at 1 kilometer, so we're doubling the distance. So now when I draw these two red lines to this farther cube, is that angle going to get bigger or smaller?
You're doubling the distance?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to get smaller.
Right. So our actual size didn't change. It's still a 10 meter cube. Same as the first one.
Okay, I think I'm finally figuring out what I'm looking at. Okay, I'm following you now.
But the only thing that changed is
I was looking at all of
angle.
this. I was looking at all of this still prospectively instead of from the right to the left. That's what I was doing. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're looking at a side view, but an orthographic side view where there's basically no perspective, because you can't see perspective and draw the lines at the same time. It just doesn't work. Like if we made this if we made this 10 meter cube physically half as big when it got twice as far away, then we would end up with something in perspective that would be 4 times as small as the closer cube, if that makes sense, right? That's why there's no size change with distance when you're looking at it in an orthographic viewpoint. I'm just gonna check the chat again. There's no such thing as a 2-dimensional cube. Thanks, Hunter.
That's your troll. That is your pedantic troll.
All right. So back in perspective mode. So some things, obviously my camera height, when we're in perspective mode and we're on a flat plane anyway, this green line is eye level, and that will always line up with whatever height I'm at regardless of distance. So if I'm at 1 meter, my eye line will be level. Sorry, my eye level will be the same place on any target in the distance. So I could make this, I could clear that and make that 5,000 meters away. and you can see my eye level remains the same at the 1 meter mark, or 9 meter mark from the top down.
So when you were just scrolling that column towards us, so the eye level is staying with the 10, so that's not adjusting according to perspective. That's so if you slid that out far, the eye level should change, right? What? Okay, maybe that's what you were explaining, and I'm trying to think through that now.
Yeah, I'm basically saying that with perspective alone, nothing should ever deviate from a straight line ahead of you, right? So if I just make like, let's start it.
So you've got the eye line technically on the horizon.
A meter above.
Okay.
So the reason why there is a horizon even on a flat plane is because, like, I'm only drawing the actual ground to 60 kilometers, and then it just ends. It just drops off. Like I can go 500 meters, and there's the end of our water, right? But when I'm zoomed out, so this is like a 90-degree field of view, so say roughly human vision, unaided vision, even at 500 meters, you can't really discern any difference there. Like the horizon rises to eye level because the angular resolution is so when we're zoomed out like this, that gap is so small that you can't see it, only until we zoom in, and that gives you an idea. So where my mouse is right now is 500 meters, right? Now if I increase that to, let's say, it's a good number, let's go 5,000, so 5 kilometers, and we get that much more water. But we still have the water not coming quite up to eye level because we have a 1 meter gap between our eye level and the horizon. But zoomed out again, you can't see any difference. So basically our horizon is at eye level unless we zoom in. But of course on a true flat plane we would have infinite water, or at least, 10-20,000 kilometers of water ahead of you. But let's just go back to 60 kilometers, which is really nothing. And I can't zoom in enough to actually see the angular height. What we're actually looking at here, this gap, is the angular height of your eye level at a distance, basically 1 meter at a distance. If I put a 1 meter cube in here at 60 kilometers, well, we're not going to see it, but it fills that gap between the horizon and my eye level.
So, okay, like, if the way that I'm trying to hear you and think through this is the distance is so great that I don't know, or I'm not able to distinguish that my eye level is, what did you say, 3 meters? How high is that line that did you put above the horizon?
1 meter.
1 meter.
Oh, this line here? Oh.
Well, the green,
actually,
the green line, right?
The green line.
Right. So
I'm not sure why this other line is here. Actually, that must be from the orthographic view or something. So.
But it's like if a person were far enough away from me and I looked in their direction, it might look like I'm looking at them, but I'm not. I might be looking past them, over them, or under them, or whatever. But because of the distance and the field of view, so I guess I'm trying to process, and maybe I'm over making this too technical. What is your information that you're able to put the eye line at a meter above? How are you determining that that's, I don't know, yeah. Why isn't my eye line at the water line? Right, so like if I'm looking out straight ahead of me, and I see the sky and I see the water, and I look at that convergence point, it's so far away, there's no way I could say I'm looking a foot above the water out there.
Right. That's exactly it. You can't see the size of your observer height above water without, a zoom camera, basically. So that's why with the human eye, the horizon always appears to rise to eye level. At least from terrestrial observations, even from a high mountain, because you can't see any. Like, let's just go up here to, let's say we're at 500 meters. Okay, so now we have a big gap between the end of our water, and this water ends at 60 kilometers, right? Make that 100 kilometers, so we're seeing a little more water. So I was actually kind of wrong with something I said. So it's a combination, because we're not limited by the atmosphere in this model. It's really a combination of how far I draw the surface and how high the camera is and how much we're zoomed in will determine how much of a gap there is between eye level and the horizon, right? So if I go, okay, but if we're at 500 meters elevation and we're looking across a flat plane without a zoom camera, you still couldn't say that horizon is below eye level by a measurable degree. Now on a globe, when we just switch the geometry with the same field of view, so basically we're still looking roughly from human perspective here. And there's the flat model, same draw distance. Now we're looking at 200 kilometers. And if I switch to a globe, we have a significant actual drop in where the horizon should be relative to eye level. Just gonna check the chat here. Cinnamon control, yeah, exactly. I mean, that's why, I guess if you look through a theodolite, you can notice, because you have an accurate eye level reference, in my observations, obviously I can't line up my eye level close enough to actually determine where it should be, especially once I start getting up to the higher elevations. So it's really hard to measure over water. Yeah, let's see. Any other questions about perspective and the horizon on a flat plane? So I mean, let's say we're at 2 meters. So average person standing on a beach. And this line here, when I draw this out, you'll see it, the first thing it says there is point distance. So where my mouse cursor is, it's measuring the distance along the surface. So when I'm zoomed right out like this, you can see like this is only 20 meters in front of the camera and we're already almost at the horizon, right? And then that's 21, but then it starts getting exponential once we get up here. Oh, sorry, what am I looking at? I was looking at the angular sizer. Okay, so 20 meters, 40 meters, 100 meters is about here, and then these last couple of pixels represent basically from like 2 kilometers to 200 kilometers, because when you think about it, our angle to the surface, if we were to look at this in an orthographic view and pick a point on the surface that's 2 kilometers away and a point that's 200 kilometers away, and then draw our straight lines from each of those points to our eye, and you would see that that angle would be like 0.001 of a degree. And that's just how perspective works. That's why the ground disappears really quickly into the distance. So this is just a perspective matrix, so to speak. Had some other features for this, but they weren't fully finished yet. All right, back to the chat.
Anything worthwhile there? That last schematic that you had looked a little bit like a Pontchartrain perspective. Have you ever done anything in that area?
Yeah. Actually, I made a video a while back now where I basically just Actually, we can probably just do this live. It's not that hard. Just gonna restart that real quick. So I'll just clear the props, and we want our what did I call that? That was the that's pylons. Okay. I can't remember the spacing between the pylons, but I'm just gonna go with 2 kilometers apart.
I think it would be interesting to have someone like you and another person who is familiar with the program like this to model out 2 different scenarios in both models with, you don't have any correspondence or contact between the 2 of you, and to see how similar your modeling would work out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like Unreal Engine uses a 1-to-1 scale, so basically, as long as you use the right input values, there shouldn't ever be any geometric discrepancies between models made in different programs.
Okay, so here's my joke that I thought of like 2 years ago. And it's going to be not funny because I'm explaining it per se, but it's two people sitting on a beach, and they're both looking out over the distance, and they see a ship on the horizon or whatever, or an island, whatever. And one of them says, "Hey, I bet you I can work out the calculations as to the distance to that island before you." And so the guy goes, "Okay, you're on." And so they all race to it, and they come back, and they come up with the exact same equation. And the guy on the right says, "Oh, wait, I forgot to account for curvature." But the observation doesn't change. So that's
Right.
that's the punchline, right? They both work out the geometric measurement, and they both have the exact same equation. And the other guy goes, "Wait, wait, wait. I forgot the Earth was curved." But then he still sees the same thing. Nothing changes. Anyway, I think that's a pretty funny comic.
So this isn't, the one I did before wasn't modeled directly off Pontchartrain either, and this one's not the right distances or anything. It's probably not even the right scale for these pylons, but it doesn't matter because it's just to show the effect that this is essentially what we'd expect to see on a globe versus a flat plane without refraction. But then I can do this, and I have to do a not very detailed scan here. So if I just enter a simple linear upward refraction gradient that doesn't change over height, it's or it changes consistently over height, I guess you could say. And I'm just gonna scan all of the targets with that.
What the hell is that matrix code that just showed up on the left side of the screen? Like, as soon as you started doing that, that thing dropped down, and it was like the matrix code.
Oh yeah, it's just debugging stuff that I haven't gotten rid of yet. I'm not sure what that's actually showing right now. Yeah, I still have some very basic improvements that I need to make. A better way of being able to switch between the flat refracted model and the globe geometric model. Right now it's a little bit...
So what
well.
it looks like to me, can you stop that at all?
Nope.
Okay. So it's rendering what you assign to it? Is that what it's doing?
Yeah, so basically what it's doing is it's scanning, and when I say scanning, I just mean it's tracing ray paths from the object, or from the observer to the object, according to this refractive gradient, and then it's adjusting the image position based on the end position of the line. So it'll send a line out at a certain angle, and then this determines how much that line will bend over the course of it reaching the target, and then wherever that hits the target essentially becomes what we see at the angle where it left the eye. And it's doing that progressively for each object, so it's simulating looking.
Yeah, I can see how it's changed since I first asked you to stop it, so I can make a comment, because I was wondering why there were two different levels, but I understand what it's doing now. Okay.
Yeah, it's almost done. I think there's 15 of them. And I would check the chat, but if this window's not focused, it takes three times as long.
Okay, no worries. Did I talk to you about the thought that I was having about the horizon? Still don't know how to really talk about it, but you know, we see in an arc, right? If we look out straight ahead, it's a 360 degree. You know, if we did a turnaround, so the limit of our eye only goes so far. So from where we're standing to the limit there, and we turn around in a circle, we've got an arc, right? So if we're looking out at the horizon, and I do a panoramic with my head, the horizon looks horizontal and let's see, I guess I would say
in the same position. Like I would think that if I started from the left and ended up at the right, I would think I was looking at the same distance every single point along the way. But the thing that I haven't started to work out or investigate, but have just simply made some deductions, is that I see different effects on that horizon with different objects at different points. So to me, that tells me that if I'm looking at 100 and just trying to think of how I could do this, if to my left is 0 and straight ahead is 90, so if I'm looking at 20 degrees to my left and then I look at 110 degrees to my right, I'm not looking at the same distance, even though I'm looking at what I would think is the same horizon. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, no, I think I see what you're saying. I think I did before when we talked about that. And I can actually show you a demonstration of that kind of too. But
so I guess what I'm just thinking out loud, I'm going to be in California in mid-July. So if I try to find a spot on the coast where I should be equidistant from two different oil platforms, so let's say one is 5 miles to my left, the other one's 5 miles to my right, that would be an interesting observation to make.
To see what differences would be in their appearance.
mm-hmm. Just trying to catch up here. Make eye height same as the pylon height. Like level with the top of the pylons. 22 meters or whatever. Okay. Well, anyway, so this is looking from 3 meters, just to show that light bending up does create essentially an identical effect as physical curvature, as far as things being obstructed from the bottom and things being displaced downward progressively over distance. Or I guess it's not exponential, it's like basically the same thing things are doing supposedly when they drop more with distance. Like it's not a linear relationship on a globe, and nor is it with refraction with a linear gradient. So that's probably kind of confusing, but basically what's happening here, this is just showing one of the targets, so basically the last pylon that we were scanning. So basically in all of these, the horizon doesn't change because that's determined by, that has nothing to do with the actual object that we're scanning. That's basically the first ray that hits the water and won't make it any farther. So you can see when the light's arcing up like this, that we have this huge dead zone, basically where no light can reach. I thought of a good analogy for kind of visualizing this also would be like, imagine trying to like hit a pool ball, the cue ball, with a curved cue upwards. I don't know, I had a better way of explaining it, but basically if you picture this as this line can't change, so there's no possible angle that you could have this line start at your eye and still hit, the bottom of this or any lower than this point. Does that make sense at all? I'm trying to find a better way of explaining it.
Yeah, this stuff for me is I don't know if I want to say that it's over my head, but I think that I've talked to you enough. But this language to me is difficult for me to correspond to my observations. So I hear what you're saying. I can see it in the diagram here, but in terms of how I see reality, it's apples and oranges. But I'm still trying to just take a step back
and process what you're saying. So keep going, man.
Okay, and I mean, I'm not saying that this is always what's happening or that this is even responsible for most of what we see, but for an observation like Pontchartrain, basically a gradient like this, in my mind, would be the only thing that would explain it on a flat plane. But then we've had other days where other people have made observations there, and there's not near as much curvature, and the globe response for that would be that there's more looming on those days, and the flat response would be that there's less upward refraction, so we would have less obstruction.
Right.
So it's basically...
Yeah, I kind of talked about this tonight with Aaron on my way home. He and I threw this around. It wasn't a long discussion, but I think that instead of saying upward refraction and downward refraction for me, I would say upward refraction is seeing farther, downward refraction is seeing shorter. So you still have the gradient of the medium that is the issue that you're dealing with, but looming for me, like if someone were to see what we present with the black swan, and they say, well, that's looming, right? So we shouldn't be seeing beyond the curve, but what we do see is being presented to us from up over the curve. That's looming. And I would say, no, what you're seeing is simply farther into the distance, and everything that you're looking at is following the lines of perspective. It's the only thing that's different is that the density of the medium through which you're looking is the thing that's changing. So if you think about it in terms of an analogy, if you have a heavy day of fog, you can't see very far. But when you see farther, it's not looming. The medium has changed. So to me, talking about the density of the aether band, and again, my use of that term is in terms of talking about perspective and these observations, because atmospheric conditions, if you use that phrase of atmospheric conditions, you could be talking about the weather. Well, we're not talking about the weather. We're talking about a very specific phenomenon, which has to do with then the aether band, because we're looking at a particular field of view, blah, blah, blah. So, so just like on a cloudy, or I'm sorry, on a foggy day, I'm not able to look out over the Channel Islands and have farther than 2-mile visibility. Well, when that fog blows off and I can see the island, it's not looming. The medium's changed. It's always the island was always there. So, I guess to just go back to what you said about upward refraction, downward refraction. Upward refraction would be see, this is really interesting because, like, I've looked at images with other people's channels where they will make the comment, there is low refraction. I'm like, what are you talking about? That entire image is distorted. But what they mean is that they're seeing farther.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But there's still a lot of refraction because you don't have crisp angles and lines. You can't see the difference between one story of a building and another. So the ambiguity, the ambiguity of what refraction means. So on the black swan, when we have the distance beyond, when we have the horizon beyond the last platform, the refraction in the globe model is high. Why is it high? Because it has to bring that image up. Well, in my world, that refraction is low, because just like the level of fog is low. So that's my gauge, right? So if I can't see very far on a foggy day, it's because there's a lot of fog. It's high. It's a high level of fog. But if I can then have 5 miles of visibility and 10 miles of visibility, that's less fog. That's lower obstruction. So that's the way for myself I have turned that language on its head.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with you there. I don't think we can. I don't know. In my own observations, I've had days where things are close to the flat model, like extremely close and extremely clear. But I've also had days where they're close to the flat model and extremely distorted. Yeah, so I don't even think you can judge the overall distortion of an image isn't really an indicator of how much it's bending up or down. Because, I mean, these rays could be going up and down, thousands of different times on their course, and that's what's creating the distortion. Like when information comes in at different heights, like just second to second, right, when stuff's really bouncing around, and there's no way of predicting all of that, so we're just going with an average. But then the distortion effect can be lots of things, and it's all refraction, but it doesn't mean stronger up or stronger down, right?
If you say so.
Well, I'm just saying I don't know, we can't correlate directly the strength of refraction with how good we're seeing or how much of something we're seeing, just based on the distortion.
Yeah, I think, right, sure, because there's so many different other variables that, like, so again, if we just take, for instance, if someone says there's, in this image that's captured, there is low refraction, but okay, I don't even know what to say. So George Netnuke, I don't know if you know who he is or not, but he he did these Rainy Lake observations in, I think, in the winter of 2018. I don't know if it was, I think it was 2018. If not, it was last year. But he goes, and I watched all of his videos, but there were times when he is showing what he has on video, and he says there is low refraction, and I'm screaming at the screen going, what are you talking about? There is tons of refraction going on here, man. So what he means by refraction is a completely different nuance, right? So that doesn't, just because you can see farther doesn't mean that there is. Okay, so how about this? So I could show you with my footage. I'm looking across 5.7 miles on the Chesapeake Bay, and I don't get across to the eastern shore as much as I do from the western shore. But the one thing that I have done in terms of the observations is that the western, or I'm sorry, the west to east observations that I've made, I see farther. I can see the shoreline. I can actually watch a boat being taken out of the water at 5 miles. But when a boat goes across my field of view, it is completely squashed down like you pinched a marshmallow, like you just totally smashed it. So that is crazy refraction, crazy. But I'm seeing farther, right? So you tell me what you think the equation is going to be with the, so if I give you the temperature of the day, the water temperature, the barometric pressure, all of the variables you want, all that data you want, you're not only going to have to tell me what my house is going to look like at 5 miles, but what a boat's going to look like when it goes across my field of view. Because if you can't predict that, then your model has no predictive qualities. But anyway, to go back and say I guess the degree or the difference in what we mean by, there's a lot of refraction or a little refraction. I just have seen too much to know, or I've seen too much to think that there is a simple way of talking about what we're looking at. I don't know.
Like at one point I started to kind of organize all of my observations just by how extreme they were relative to either model. Like usually it's huge black swans, right? Like horizons way above where they should be. And that's partly due to just the sheer coldness of the water this time of year. But I don't know if I was to line them all up, like measure them all with the Swanalizer tool, and then take like the biggest 3 observations where there's the most displacement from the respective models, and then look at the image quality, like maybe compare the top 3 side by side and see if there's any correlation there. But I think we would see, like, some of probably my biggest black swan at one point, it was so clear and vivid that it looked like my highest elevation reference point shot, as far as like seeing the angle of the water past the campground and stuff, right? Anyway, before I forget, I just want to go back to this model that I've got on the screen right now. So Bobby Shafto and Cinnamon Control asked me to raise the camera up to the top of the pylons, about 23 meters, and do the same scan using the same refractive gradient. And this is the image it produced. There was some kind of a glitch with a couple of these. I'm not sure what that is, but still the same effect. And if I'm not going to be able to switch back and forth, but if you just remember roughly what this looks like, and then I'll just clear all these. Add them back again, and on a globe, so you can see that's a little bit steeper of a drop. And then if we go up to something like 7 or 8.6 our actual physical radius, we can get that the effect of what I just scanned on a flat plane. Bobby Shafto, if you're still here, yeah, I'd definitely like to have a chat with you at some point. So I'm just wondering, I mentioned it earlier in the stream that light bending up with a specific radius is optically equivalent to light traveling straight on a sphere, a convex sphere with the same physical radius, if that makes any sense. So light bending with a radius of 6,371 kilometers upward, or concave, I guess you could say, is optically equivalent to light traveling straight on a sphere the size of the Earth, allegedly. Hopefully I worded that right. You agree? That's good. Of course, there's no evidence to indicate that light is always doing that, but
Okay, so let's stop with that qualification. How can we determine when it is and when it's not?
yeah, that's a good question, and that's basically what I've been trying to, not trying to do, but trying to determine if there's even a way to differentiate between the two models, just using observations. And it's looking like there's probably not, but that doesn't mean I'm going to stop making observations, because it's still really interesting, even if it doesn't prove anything. And it's very interesting that well, just the fact that it's so hard to watch something disappear over the curve, like how you picture it should look. You know what I mean? Like, it's almost always, if that happens, it's going into an inferior mirage, which we know can happen on a flat plane and cause obstruction. So,
Hey, I had a completely random thought right now. I was going to watch a like a ferry go over the horizon. You want to do a reaction video to it? I haven't seen it yet. You want to watch it together and we just kind of react to it and see what we see?
Sure.
Alright, so then if I go to Skype, so I'm gonna go to, let's see if I, okay, so I've got your YouTube page open right now, so I'm gonna shrink that down. So that's for my show. So I guess on your end, you're just gonna have your screen for your audience, right? So if I share screen for Skype, and then I come over here, I gotta figure out my VLC. My VLC crashed and it's not updating itself, so I gotta figure out something. I'm trying to think of who the channel was. I can't think of who the channel was. but he does a time lapse, or he does a high speed presentation, and then this is the raw footage. I think it's like 14 minutes. So all my video players are tanking. There we go. Are you ready?
So I have to share your screen?
Well, my screen is shared. So if you're looking at Skype, if you have the Skype window open,
Yeah.
it should show you the screen right now. You see the screen? And then as long as your OBS is uploading your screen to your channel, you should be okay.
Okay, I'll just have to make a new scene in OBS real quick.
Yeah, take your time. So right now your channel is going through your snapshots, or your what's that called when you go through your slideshow. Dude, I have not seen a jet ski in so long, and I've been looking at boats, and this one jet ski came up in my area for like $700, and I was just like, oh man, I would love to get a jet ski. Not a Sea-Doo, not a Sea-Doo, a jet ski.
Yeah, I don't know why I called them CDs. I don't know. I was thinking.
I'm not correcting you. Most people call Sea-Doos jet skis, but they're not. The jet skis are the ones that you could stand up on, and were like little motorcycles. They were so awesome, man. Ugh. I had one back in the late '90s, or my mom did. They were so much fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I've actually never ridden anything like that. Okay, so what up?
Okay, so right now it looks to me, I don't know. Right now, what does that look like on your screen? Hold on. So you aren't, all I'm seeing, I think, is what is your screen for Skype, because it says, what does that say? Share screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's your controls, but you want to see what I'm sharing on Skype.
Okay, wait a minute. Maybe I have to make this. What did that do? Okay, now I've got a picture on your screen, but that's not showing up, is it?
No.
Is it on YouTube? Like, do you want to just send me the link?
We can. I just always, for me at least, I would have buffering whenever I tried to play it directly from YouTube. But I gotta try to think about whose channel it was. I don't know if it was. I don't know if it was Matthias or not.
Oh, wait a minute. No, I think I've got your screen. I just had to hit share screen.
Yeah, all I see is my icon. Oh, wait. So I see your Skype with my window open, but I don't see what I'm sharing. So
Yeah, I'm not very good with Skype. I don't know. Haven't.
Okay, so I don't think. Well, we could just do we could do something else. Let's still mess with Matthias KP. So I'm gonna copy his link, and then I will put it in your chat. Okay, so look in your YouTube chat for the link, and then click that, and then you can play it from your side, and then we'll just react to it. I haven't seen this. It's like 2 minutes and 40 seconds, and we'll just see what he does.
Sure. I guess I gotta get another scene here for Google or Chrome.
I've got Wide Awake over in my chat. Do you know his channel?
Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah, I've watched probably 90% of his videos.
Yeah, he's got so much good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, he's great. Okay, 1 second here. Okay, I've got YouTube showing.
So I put the link in the chat there. It should be. I don't see it on. There it is. Yep, there it's right there in the middle of the frame right now.
I was on.
That's from
copying a link from your.
That's from a couple. Yeah, that's from a couple days ago.
I'm just gonna close that so I don't get confused here. Close that. Oh, okay. So I gotta catch up on the live stream here. Oh no, I can go here. Actually. Wait, you posted it in the live stream chat?
Yeah, I'll do it again real quick. So it'll be the first thing that comes up.
I don't see your link. I wonder, do you have to be... Maybe I have to
It's
make
gonna be.
I
no, I think I saw it come up. It's right under. Okay, so the screen that you're on right now, the last comment is Aaron's. You see that?
Yeah.
Okay, so my comment is right underneath. Now, Cinnamon Control just made a comment that says "Yep." So, so there should be a link between Aaron's comment and Cinnamon's. Do you not see that? No. Okay. Well, let me put
Yeah, I just modded you,
That's
so
weird.
try again.
Oh, that might be it. That might be it. Because it's a link. Okay. I thought I saw that.
It might show up on your end, even though it doesn't go through.
Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, so now it should be between Cinnamon and Aaron. But, okay, so here's what I'll do. I'll go into Skype, and I'll put it in Skype.
Sure.
Alright, so there it is.
Okay. So, shouldn't be any issues playing this video for critical review.
He hasn't given me any problems. He's been in the chat. He's been in the chat while I'm looking at it. So.
Okay. Go back to this.
Alright, there we go. Yep. Alright, so what's going on the right side? I was reading why height matters.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like the right is farther away and higher up. Alright, I'll let you. Was that the whole video already?
No, it's only halfway.
Oh, okay. Oh, the one that I'm looking at. Okay, never mind. Okay, I got it. Can you go back to the beginning?
Sure. I just got to mute for a second. I'll be right back, so maybe I'll just let it play again.
I don't think those are the same angles. Although they kind of look like them. The twist in the torso looks the same, but I don't see that church steeple on the left in the right image, and I don't see that high second building on the left, on the right of the torso in the right image. What's going on out there, party people? Shout out to Aaron Moorfield, Cinnamon Control. I think Aaron Moorfield and Cinnamon Control are the only ones active in Heath's chat. So hello to the two of you. Thanks for being here. Brian Leakey over in my chat. Smurfer Girl, hi. Wide Awake. Danny D, causing trouble. Brian Leakey. Come on, lie to me! Lie to me! Oh, man. When you get triggered, Brian, you crack me up, man. Tell me what I want to hear! You crack me up.
Alright, I'm back. But I should probably wrap it up pretty soon.
Yeah, that's great with me, because I did not want to be the wimp. So, good for you. Yeah, but I was like, I'm ready for bed.
Yeah, and this
But
is
it's
almost.
but it's only like a 2-minute movie or video, so let's maybe spend what 10 minutes, maybe 10 minutes.
Sure.
Okay, 10 minutes. All right, so go back to the beginning and just start all over because I was just like looking at one thing and missing another. So let's see what he's telling us.
Is it coming through?
No, I have one scene that is not moving.
Oh, there we go. Okay, so I'll restart that again. All right.
Okay, so this looks like the same day and about an hour difference. And so we got an altitude of over maybe about 15 feet on the left, and then whatever 65 times 3 is on the right. So like 200 feet.
Yeah.
All right. So just can you push pause right now? All right. So in today's photo, or in today's video that I did, you see the building to the left that looks like a church, that with the steeple? Those are two separate buildings in tandem. And the body of the building is in front of the steeple. So the steeple belongs to a church, but it's not visible. The building in front of it is blocking it. And then there was a building in the footage that I looked at today to the right of the torso that you can see here. It's like a stair step, 1, 2, 3, and then it's mirrored. The top foremost part. Okay, so keep those 2 points in mind. But again, I think I would say that right there at the third level of that tier of that stair step down, if you cut that in half, that's where your vanishing line is going to be. That's where your fold line is.
Okay.
So in the right we've got much farther away and higher up. Although it doesn't look much farther away. I guess maybe I'm not thinking of kilometers. So in the left you got 25 kilometers, which is right where he shot from on the footage that I looked at. It's 15.5 miles. But in the right one, you've just got 4 more kilometers, and the thing looks like it's way far away. Because the image on the left, he's at the water. So so how far? 2 miles. This is 2 miles. 2 kilometers is what? One is more than a mile, right? But not 2 miles.
Right.
So that's not very far. That doesn't seem to match up, but okay.
Wait, no. The one on the left is 25 kilometers.
Yeah. The one on the right is 4 kilometers more, and the kilometer is roughly double a mile. Roughly.
Not quite, but yeah.
Okay. It just seems like it's a lot farther away. But okay. So the left, we've got some crazy refraction going on, which was not going on in the footage that he showed from the stuff that I looked at today. There was a lot more clarity, a lot more. So that would be really interesting to know if he's shooting from the same location. Because if he is, and you're getting this right here, this water right here, in my opinion, is being loomed up. That's my definition of looming. The refraction is raising this up, raising this up, so that this horizon line is actually shorter in terms of distance away from us, so that if there were a large boat between the horizon and the turning torso, it would be cut in half because the water itself is being raised up as a I don't know, a refractive obstruction. I don't even know what to say because I haven't seen anybody else describe it. It's just curvature. If you were to see a boat cut in half right here in this image, you would say that's curvature, bro. But anyway, okay, go ahead. I'll let you I'll let you control the rest of it. Go. I mean, you can push play and see what you say.
I'm just trying to get a grasp of the altitude difference and what we should kind of be seeing. So I find it interesting that on the left image, so you would say that this is the horizon rising up in front of the object, basically?
Yeah.
And that's what's causing the obstruction?
Yep.
So to me, it would basically be, this is purely light bending up, and everything we see is lowered optically, and then we have that inferior mirage, which also happens with light bending up more at the surface, but what it usually creates is a close false horizon. Like, to me, just looking at the sort of the resolution of the farthest waves that we can see doesn't look much different, you know, like this doesn't look very far away.
Yeah. Okay.
This wave.
Yeah, I the way that you said what you said about the horizon right now, I think is very similar to what I would say. Sure.
I mean, I think what you're describing does happen, but it's with the opposite effect. It's when light's bending down at the surface, so we get that really high horizon, and the aqua bands, basically, and those can obstruct things at a certain distance also.
Okay.
I mean, at 65 meters, I don't even know how much should actually be hidden. Probably not much on a globe, eh? It's only 29 kilometers away.
Well, 65 meters is times 3. Yeah.
Yeah, that's almost 200 feet.
200 feet. That's what I said before, right?
Yeah.
Which is pretty high. That's interesting because I've got footage from the Ventura coastline where I shoot. I found a spot, and I'm somewhere, I would say, somewhere between 150 feet and maybe 250. I feel like I'm higher, but the GPS said I was at 150, but I think it's wrong.
Yeah, I'll definitely look into more of his observations. It's definitely a good target. You have the sections for easy reference of heights and oops.
Are you not playing the rest of it?
It should be playing.
I don't see it moving at all. I have no movement.
Huh, that's weird. It's not. Yeah, it's not playing on OBS. Hang on. It's kind of weird.
All right, well, no worries. I don't want to kill the
opportunity. Although now it's changed, but it's still.
I think it's when I go full screen on YouTube, it does something funny.
Yeah, so if you see here now, we can see these wind turbines. In the video that I was looking at today, you could only see the very base of it. So he's got some, in my opinion, some of the stuff, like when I go out in to California in mid-July, hopefully I'm going to take some of the stuff that I've made mistakes with before in my observations and try not to do them again. But he needs to find a way to be moderately consistent with where he's shooting, like with getting stills. Like for me, before I do any video work, I take my stills and get those out of the way. I've got 5 spots, boom, 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 get those taken as the standard, and then I can go to video, because video is harder to remain static on. You're always moving unless you're doing a time lapse. So, but now that you've got this window shrunk down, there's a little bit more activity. It's a lot faster with your interaction with that page. Is that the same video that we were just looking at?
Yeah.
Oh wow, he's got a lot of technical breakdown. Wow. Yeah.
Sorry, I was trying to read all of that. Well, I thought I was sharing that part of the video, but yeah, no, I'll definitely look into it more. But I think just like it'd be good to see a comparison of this versus the best visibility from the same height and same distance, just on different days. Although still limited in what it can tell us, because anytime we're looking close to the surface of something, there's enough room for temperature. Like when I go to my lake in the evening right now, there's a noticeable temperature inversion. As you're walking down the boat ramp, you can feel the air getting colder, right? Because you're walking up to a cold body of water and it's a hot day. But it's only to a certain point. Like if I was at 10 meters, the temperature is probably not inverted. It's probably back to normal. So all I'm saying is that when we have these observations, even though he's getting up a little higher, like 200 meters, that's pretty, or 200 feet is pretty high, but it's still within the range that refraction could be responsible for either model appearing like the opposite, basically. So that's my 2 cents on it anyway. Anything else you want to say about this?
No.
Cool.
All right, man.
All right.
Have a great Father's Day weekend.
Yeah, you too. It's a good chat.
Yep.
I'm just gonna check the chat real quick here.
All right, man. I'm going to close it all down, but thanks for letting me hang out with you, and I appreciate all your work, man. Thank you so much.
Right on. I'll talk to you later.
Okay. Take care.
Bye.
All right, everybody out there in the plain truth land. How we doing? Danny, are you a flat earther yet? Smurfer girl, are you a globetard yet? Have you guys converted each other? What if you guys switched teams? Not that way. I mean, what if Danny became a flat earther and Smurfer girl became a globehead? Wouldn't that be? That would be crazy. Crazy. Okay, so everybody, John the Savage. Is that Savage? I'm just curious. John Savage, are you John Savage? So, all right. Let's see. I'm going to wrap this up because I am so tired. But you guys are saying hi to each other and all that kind of stuff. So, okay. So once I shut down the stream, guys, you have a bit of time to continue your shenanigizing, okay? Where am I and who are you? John Savage, this is the channel called The Plain Truth. The Plain Truth. And we just ended a simulcast stream with another channel called Heath Carmody. And if you go to the description of the show, his channel link is there. All right. I am going to bed. I am so smurfing tired. Before you leave, if you have not hit that Fonzarelli, Smurfer girl, the Fonzarelli, if you have not hit that Fonzarelli, make sure you sit on it, okay? And yeah, this has been another exciting adventure of The Plain Truth. I'm your host, John Savage. Your intro vid is great. Okay, so John Savage. I'm going to have to check that out. Right. All right. I've been your host, Travis Finley. Oh, last information. Tomorrow night, Bandsaw Bandit. We're wrapping up, bro. Tomorrow night, 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I am hosting a double feature matinee hosted by Smurfer Girl herself, and she's gonna surprise us with some fantastic B, C, D movies. It's gonna be absolutely horrible. So make sure you pop your popcorn, salt it, pepper it, rosemary it, butter it, all that kind of stuff. So I am gonna check out, peeps. Until next time.